Spielberg at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. We're absolutely excited to be here. Only 2 more race weekends to go. That means 4 more races and the championship will be decided. It's going to be super exciting. And the man who's here with me is Nick Cassidy, who'll be starting in pole position. And in Spa, you had your first win. So are you going to be able to repeat that today?
Look, that's certainly the plan. Not going to be easy, but we're going to attack and see what's possible.
I mean, Spielberg is a very challenging racetrack, so how tough do you think will the race be? Surely everyone's going to attack you.
Yeah, every track in DTM is super tough, right? And every race as well. So I've got, how many cars are there? 30 guys behind me that want to pass me. So that's racing.
All right, well, you got a smile on your face, so best of luck. Do enjoy the race. Thank you so much. And now here's your commentator.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Hello, everybody. Welcome along then to the first race of the weekend as we get set for another 55-minute plus 1 lap encounter in this fascinating DTM 2022 season. I'm Chris Hartley to talk you through the action during the next hour or so with Nick Cassidy having qualified second, starting on pole position. Qualified second, René Rast qualified on pole position as he did at Spa right at the end of the session, but carries a 3-place grid penalty from, ironically, the contact that he had with Nick Cassidy at Spa 2 weeks ago. He got a 5-second penalty for that. He couldn't serve it because he retired from the race with a puncture. So instead, he gets this grid penalty and starts 4th. There's the grid then, as it will line up with Cassidy and Nico Muller, who's been in the top 4 in all of the sessions so far, if you include free practice yesterday, starting alongside him. Ricardo Feller looks strong as well here. He'll start 3rd. René Rast starts 4th with that 3-place grid penalty. And the other Ferrari, Felipe Fraga, qualifying 5th, just ahead of another of the championship contenders, Marco Bortolotti, who will start 6th in the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini, and in need of some big points here if he's to get himself back in the championship fight. And Lucas Auer, who qualified 8th but moves up to 7th place, is another one to watch because he's 2nd in the championship and one of the 4 Austrian drivers that's competing here in his home race this weekend. So there's the full grid. We'll go through it again on the formation lap, but let's head back down to the grid now and get some more news from Verena.
And now I'm here with René Rast, who's starting in P4. Originally you were in pole position, but due to the penalty in Spa, you're now pushed back to P4. But however, you're 2nd in the championship, so it's all about the points, that's for sure, in regards to the championship. And everybody who's fighting tough in the championship is behind you. Yeah. So it's looking good, right?
So far it looks good, yeah. Let's see how it looks after the first couple of corners or laps. Hopefully, obviously, I tried to stay in front of all of them, especially Sheldon, who's the main rival at the moment. If we have a good result today, a top 5 or top 3, we can close the gap a lot to Sheldon. That's the ultimate goal. But let's see how the race pans out.
So far in the championship, I mean, anything is possible. We've seen it. You know, now you're 2nd in the championship. So at this point, with only 4 more races to go, is that what you've got in your head full on, or are you concentrating on every race by itself?
Yeah, we concentrate on every race because it can be over after this one. You know, if we don't score points and Sheldon does a big point today, it's almost over. So we have to really take every race by itself. Today we've got a present that Sheldon is back at P70. That's kind of a present for us, and we are here in front. So we need to collect those points today and hopefully continue like that tomorrow as well.
All right, I saw your family's here, so hopefully they're going to bring you good luck, your lucky charms. Best of luck for the race. Thank you so much. And back to the commentator.
Thanks, Verena. Great to hear from René Rast, who's been 3 times a race winner here at the Red Bull Ring. So let's see what he can do. He hasn't been on the podium since his double podium at the Norris Ring around the streets of Nuremberg, but he's in fine form, qualifying fastest and starting 4th. Marco Bortolotti looks in good spirits as well, starting on the row behind. I'm delighted to say that joining me in the commentary box as a guest here today is a very familiar voice to DTM. Many years the commentator for DTM, still very much involved with the package. Had a cameo from him in the fog at the Nürburgring a few weeks ago. But Dave Richardson joins me in the commentary box, and what a fascinating season this is turning into. 9 different race winners already this year.
If at the beginning of the year you'd written a script, you couldn't have written it in a more enticing or exciting way. Absolutely wonderful. And we were just seeing Marco Bortolotti there, who I think is the man under pressure because he wants to close the gap and get closer once again to this championship as we go back down onto the grid and Verena.
All right, and here we are, and we've got the best skier in the world here with us, Marcel Hershey. It's fantastic having you here. And I heard you're all into motorsports, and today you were already on the racetrack driving around with some of the guests. So why? Because you love the adrenaline kick, or what is it?
I mean, in general, motorsport is something that was always into me, and I competed this year in Erzberg Rodeo. Red Bull Erzberg Rodeo is on hard enduro race, so this was the first competition I made, and Audi came to me and asked me if I can do a couple of taxi runs here at the DTM weekend, and I said, of course. I mean, that's an amazing chance and a once-in-a-lifetime chance maybe to drive with an original DTM car, and so yeah, that's the reason why I'm here.
All right, well, it's fantastic having you here. Thank you so much, and I would have loved to be in that car with you. All right, Marcel. Thank you so much, and now here's a commentator. Enjoy.
Thanks, Verini. Yeah, Marcel Hershey there is a skiing legend, concentrating most of his career on slalom and giant slalom. He won a record-breaking 8 consecutive World Cup titles. He's also got many medals, 11 medals in the World Championships and 2 gold medals in the Winter Olympics as well. And he's been doing the taxi rides for lucky ticket winners here at the circuit. And it's great to see, Dave, a huge crowd that we've got here this weekend. There's been lots of ticket giveaways. It was even pretty busy yesterday on Friday for practice, wasn't it? But it's absolutely heaving today. Great to see the support for DTM.
Yeah, very much so. And, you know, from my side, the whole entertainment spectacle and the fact that so many people want to buy into it is part of the success story of the DTM, which has retained that kind of elevation, if you will, not only in terms of how close the racing is, which it couldn't be closer, Chris, but also, in fact, the whole package is really, really good, and it makes for a compelling race out for a race fan.
Absolutely, and this circuit gives us great racing, but one thing they're going to have to be careful about, and I spoke to Nick Cassidy about this after qualifying, is track limits. We had over 200 laps taken away in free practice 1 and free practice 2 between the drivers, and some of the drivers were getting 6 or 7 laps taken away from them. One of them had 11 laps taken away. It's all at the end of the lap through turns 9 and 10, and turn 1 as well is becoming increasingly strict there. So track limits is going to be an issue in the race. Let's get some more news down on the grid though with Verena.
So that was a bit of a sprint all the way from the front to P16. You're the championship leader, Sheldon. What happened? How come you're only P16?
Just a bad qualifying, to be honest. Yeah, we don't really know why yet, but the goal is obviously now to work forwards. We're going to try and really catch Rene, but yeah. I don't want to say too much more because in DTM you can never really predict the future, and I just want to get in my car now and do as much as possible.
All right, well, best of luck. Fingers are crossed, that's for sure. It's tough, but yeah, I'm sure Sheldon is going to do it somehow. And now we're very excited because the race is about to start in just a bit. So here's a commentator. Do enjoy and fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be super exciting.
I think you're absolutely right, Verena. Thanks very much indeed. Sheldon van der Linde there, Dave. I would say normally, you know, even at Spa, race 1, Verena interviewed him. He qualified not well there either, back out of the top 20. But he remained positive, remained bubbly, remained relaxed. He looks a little bit more under kind of pressure there, a little bit more strained, and it's understandable because he's coming here with a pretty big championship lead, and we're getting into crunch time now. But the one thing he's got on his side is he doesn't need to go and win every race. He doesn't need to get podiums. It's up to the rest of them to catch him up. So he has got this pretty big advantage now. Yeah,
and surely he will be thinking about this, and he will be very, very clever and just think, right, let's just maximise what little opportunity perhaps I've got from qualifying and just think about banking points, because you're absolutely right. If he goes all out to try and chase down Rene and those right at the front of the pack, it could all go horribly wrong. What's critical for him is just banking points, surely.
Absolutely, and he said at the end of the race at Spa, race 2, he said, you know, it's difficult for me because I naturally want to go and win races. I want to overtake, but I am, you know, I am honestly thinking about the championship now, not taking any unnecessary risks. If there's an opportunity and it's a clean one, I'll take it, but if it's a risk, I'm not going to take it. There you can see the points. Rene Rast got the 3 points for qualifying on pole. Despite the fact he's got this grid penalty, he still gets those points, and that was enough to move him up to 99 points and second in the championship, so he's gone ahead of Lucas Auer now. One thing that he will take some comfort from, though, Sheldon van der Linde, is that last weekend at Spa, no points whatsoever on Saturday, got a second place finish on Sunday, and despite being a mixed weekend, he still walked away with a bigger championship lead than he'd had at the start of the weekend. So there's still plenty of opportunities here for Sheldon to get himself possibly up into the top 10 and into the points, but we're about to find out how it all unfolds in the next few minutes. Well, surely has to have one of the most beautiful surroundings in the world. It looks just about the least likely place to host a high-speed racetrack, yet it's here in the small town of Spielberg, population of just 5,000 or so, that we find the Red Bull Ring. Motorsport's been a part of this world since the late 1950s, when sports car races were run on the nearby temporary airfield circuit of Zeltweg. But it was in 1969 that a permanent circuit was built, first known as the Österreich-Ring, then later the A1 Ring. It was bought by Red Bull owner Dietrich Mateschitz in 2011, and today it ranks amongst the very elite of world-class facilities. Welcome then, everybody, to the penultimate round of the season. 4 races to go. The championship still absolutely wide open. This circuit, which runs in a clockwise direction, 4.3 kilometres long. Undulations, there's up to a 12% gradient on that steep climb out of turn 1 up towards the hairpin at turn 3. It's a track where you need traction because you're in first gear coming out of turn 3. It's a slow second gear corner at turn 1. There are hills to climb, but there are also some very sweeping curves, particularly the downhill run through the middle sector of the lap, and particularly at the end of the lap through the downhill run at turns 9, the Jochen-Rindt curve, and turn 10, where you come back out onto the straights. But it's there that you've got to be ultra careful not to put all 4 wheels over the curbs, go too far onto the runoff area, because that's where they've all been getting track limits warnings and laps taken away from them this weekend. They've been getting better, to be fair. So in free practice 1, there were, 126 laps taken away from drivers combined, 93 in free practice 2, only 45 in qualifying. So they're learning their lesson, but they have to be very careful of this. They get away with it twice. 3rd time they get a warning. 4th time, and thereafter it's a 5-second penalty each time you do it. There then is the 3-minute board. Chris Hartley and Dave Richardson here to talk you through the first race of the weekend. 55 minutes plus 1 lap it will be. Mandatory pit stop for everybody, which has to be taken between the end of the 10th minute and at the end of the 40th minute of the race. And during that, they will change all 4 tyres. Rears first, then fronts. Only 6 can work on the pit stop in terms of the crew. Only 4 can actually handle the wheels. And, of course, no refueling these days in the DTM. René Rast then, 23 pole positions. He won't actually start from pole because of his 3-place grid penalty, but 23 pole positions day for René Rast. 3 times a champion already. He's actually only 2 pole positions away from equaling the great Bernd Schneider's record. He's only been in the championship a few years, really. Which is absolutely extraordinary.
Final words of comfort there from one Mr. G. Berger, Gerhard Berger, of course, the principal of the ITR and the DTM, who, of course, Chris, you know, you couldn't have anyone better running a championship than a racing driver like Gerhard, who is absolutely, he understands how critical it is that the racing is hugely exciting, forgive the word, hugely competitive, but has got to be entertaining as well. And what he and his team have delivered in this, forgive me saying it, new DTM, he has been the architect of that. It's a fantastic, and for the championship with just 4 races to go, Chris, okay, Sheldon van der Linde is in a good position, but it could still go 1 of 3, 4 ways, I think.
Yeah, and more, perhaps. You know, I mean, technically, mathematically, there's still 18 drivers that can win the championship, but certainly you're looking at half a dozen that still will fancy their chances, knowing how erratic the point scoring has been this year. Nobody's been consistent. If you look at the top 10 in the championship, there's not one driver in the top 10 in the championship that has scored points in each of the last 4 races. Not one of them. The only one that's done it in the whole grid is Marco Wittmann, but he's only been getting 8th, 9th, 10th place finishes. It's the big points that you need here if you're in that championship fight this weekend.
Just a minute to go, and you will remember when you and I were last on DTM duties together, which was about 100 years ago. We always used to say, or I always used to say, you know, actually you can look at qualifying, you can look at race 1. None of it gives you a form guide for race 2. Everything changes in a heartbeat, and that's what makes this so exciting for us.
Yeah, there's only one event this year in all of the events where one brand has qualified on pole position both days. So it's always been a different story on day 2, as you say, and qualifying mega tight once again. In qualifying this morning, there were 9/10 of a second between the top 23 drivers.
23 drivers. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
So it doesn't take much to slip down the order, and that, unfortunately, is what's happened, well, to both, really, of the BMWs run by Schubert Motorsport. We heard from Sheldon van der Linde. He's back in 16th place. And his teammate, another quick Austrian driver, another former DTM race winner, Philipp Eng, is even lower down, isn't he? 24th on the grid. So BMWs will work to do. There have been some tweaks to the balance of performance since qualifying. So the Audis are going to be 15 kilograms heavier, 25 kilograms instead of 10 for them. The same is true of the Ferraris. they've added 15 kilograms to those cars as well. The Lamborghinis are 5 kilograms heavier as well. The BMWs, Porsches, the BMWs and Mercedes stayed the same. The Porsches have got a little bit lighter, 5 kilograms lighter, because despite going well yesterday, the Porsches didn't really qualify very well either, with Tommy Prining being the highest Porsche in 13th place on the grid.
It was amazing to see as Cassidy left his starting box on his formation lap. He gave it an absolute footful of throttle and sideways, and left these 2 huge rubber marks down there. I mean, talk about warm the tyres up, Chris. He was doing it. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting this, because you've got Nick Cassidy. He's not really involved in the championship fight. He's had to miss a couple of rounds because of his Formula E commitments. You've got Nico Muller, who could still win the championship, but he needs big points to catch up. He's in 8th place, so he's going to go for it as well. Ricardo Fella, likewise, he's going to go for it. René Rast is René Rast, so he's going to go for it. Always.
Felipe Fraga, he's 5th on the grid. He's not really in the championship fight, so he just wants to try and win a race. Mirko Bortolotti is in the championship fight, but he's been losing ground of late. He's of the top 8 in the championship. He's the one that scored the least points over the last 6 races, so he needs a big result here. So he'll go for it from 6th on the grid as well. And Lucas Auer is Lucas Auer, and he always goes for it, and he's 7th on the grid, so this could be an absolutely terrific race potentially.
It's enticing, isn't it? And this very much, the Red Bull Ring, you and I, it's one of our favourite tracks. We've got a lot of favourite tracks, but the undulating nature of this place, with a over 60 metres elevation change from the start-finish straight all the way up to the top between turns 3 and 4, and the sort of the roller coaster nature, Chris, round from turn 4 as you run downhill once again. It always promotes really, really very dramatic racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Big opportunity to overtake at the top of the turn 3 as well. So Cassidy and Muller on the front row, Fella and Rast on row 2, Fraga and Bortolotti complete the top 6. Auer and the reigning champion Götz are on row 4. Engel and Miney are on row 5. Miney with a 3-place grid penalty for track limits from Spa. He did qualify higher than 10th. And then you got Stoltz and Leon Kohler on his debut, standing in for Esteban Moot, qualifying 12th, the former Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland frontrunner. So that's the top 6 rows of the grid. 55 minutes plus 1 lap of racing about to get underway then here, with 4 races to go in DTM 2022. Who's going to make their name here? The lights go out and we go racing. And Cassidy, look, with a decent start in the Ferrari from the front row of the grid from pole position. Muller, not such a good start. He's got Ricardo Fella to the right of him, to the left of him, René Rast, and Rast trying to go through past Fella now as well. His teammate, remember, 2nd and 3rd they will be. Muller drops back to 4th. Bortolotti's made a good start from 5th as they climb up the hill now towards turn 2, and Felipe Fraga is looking to attack as well, but the absolutely perfect start for his teammate Nick Cassidy, who's going to lead them up to the first big braking zone after turn 1. Look at Fraga at the inside as well, 4 abreast. Look at that, he's gone potentially into 3rd place. It all funnels up there as they go out of turn 3, but Felipe Fraga brave on the brakes there. Has he made it stick though? No, I think he's fallen back, and a bit of contact further back, but it's Rast in 2nd place, and look at the bunch behind Dave, they're still 3 abreast.
Mirko Bortolotti, he was all the way around the outside of turn number 3. He was on the runoff area, went off onto the grass as well, but I think it's in P4.
Oh, Felipe Fraga, I think puncture. Left rear looks like it's gone. There was contact, as I say, as he came out of turn 3, and the Brazilian's woeful luck continues.
Bortolotti's on a charge here. I was saying how he'd got around the outside. I think he's put it up to P3 now, having got past Nico Muller, Chris.
Yeah, Lucas Auer with a decent start. He's just behind as well in the blue and white, number 22, Winwood Mercedes. There's Marco Wittmann trying to come through as well in the BMW. The Volcanos car, green and white, but he's got a lot of work to do in this race. Sheldon van der Linde's made some ground up luck, so he's got 4 places already, up to 12th position. Just behind him on his debut is the very impressive Leon Kohler. So at the end of the first lap of the race, it's Cassidy and Rast, 1st and 2nd. Bortolotti in 3rd place. 4th place, Nico Muller. 5th place, Auer. And rounding out the top 6, a good start as well from Maro Engel. There is the championship leader, Sheldon van der Linde. Be pretty pleased with that as a first lap. A, he's survived, Dave, and B, he's made up some places.
Absolutely, he has. The trajectory has been forward, and that's exactly what he needs to do. Keep a cool head. Let's go on board. And this is a wonderful onboard shot as we run up to this turn now, where you continue climbing through the right-hander. Jolly hard work. It's a real overtaking opportunity, and we can see a car already in, and that is the car of Clement Schmidt. As around has gone the number 36 car. Yeah,
Arjun Miney's gone around. A real shame for qualifying in the top 10. Real shame for Clement Schmidt as well. He was quickest in free practice. You've still got limping back to the pits with that tyre issue, Felipe Fraga, and is that Dennis Olson as well in the SSR Performance Porsche, who is 5th in the championship, but had a bad bad qualifying as well. All the Porsches really struggled in qualifying. Tell you what, another good first lap from Thomas Prining, the young Austrian. He's been absolutely brilliant of late. He's the behind Dennis Olson in the last 6 races. He's scored the second most points of anybody in the championship, and he's rocketed it already up to 7th place from 13th on the grid in the Kuss Team Bernhard number 24 Porsche.
Brilliant showing from Leon Köhler, who of course is in for Esteban Moot, and we need to say get well soon to Esteban Moot. Let's hear Sheldon on the team radio there.
Copy.
Copy was, if I'd have shut up a bit earlier, you'd have heard more of that. Sorry for that, but there we can see. I love these onboard shots, looking back at the car of Leon Köhler then that we were talking about. And Leon doing a very, very good job on his debut, running in P13. Sheldon van der Linde running in P12. It's Lucas Stoltz is the car that they are chasing down.
Cassidy a little bit quicker than Rast on that last lap, so he's got his gap out by another nearly 3/10 of a second to 8/10 of a second. A climb uphill, they're pushing 245 kilometres an hour at their quickest around this circuit. They're quicker at other circuits. They can hit nearly 270 kilometres an hour, these cars, but they go all the way down to first gear for this right-hander at turn 3 and drop down to first gear. You can see it's a little rise out of the corner, and then it's up and down Dale, and there a damage to the left rear corner of one of the key championship contenders, Dennis Olson, who's been going really well of late. Got his first victory, first pole position, then first victory at Spa just 2 weeks ago, but he's out for this one already, and that is the problem, Dave, with qualifying down in the pack.
Yes, unfortunately, you're always going to be in the mix, aren't you? And regrettably for Dennis Olson, being in the mix has not played to his favour today, and it is a retirement for Dennis Olson, which is a great shame. Hugely talented young driver that you and I have talked about for many, many years as we've watched his career develop to the pinnacle that it's at now in DTM. And as you say, a pole position and a race win for Dennis Olson. Nothing like the success of that today for him, regrettably.
Yeah, he was going well as well yesterday. Felipe Fraga then going wheel to wheel here with Lucas Au, trying to stay out of the way as he goes into the pit. So Felipe only finished in the points in 4 races so far this year, and that's going to change in this race. That car that Felipe is driving won both the races here last year, so the Ferraris were nowhere quick here, and it was Liam Lawson that got a double victory here last year. But can Nick Cassidy fly the flag in the AlphaTauri AF courses? Something's just clicked with him and the team. But you remember, it's only his 6th weekend as a DTM driver, having done the last round at Norris Ring and having missed a couple this season. So Nick, we know, a talented driver, is going to replay at the start.
Philip hang on the grass.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? All on the grass. So too was Kohler. On the grass, on the curbs, trying to find space. There was 4 abreast. There's a bit of contact between Gutz and Engel. Same livery, but not teammates, those 2 Mercedes drivers. He's got to drop back a little bit, so he's in 9th place at the moment. The one that also dropped back from that lead group, despite actually getting off the line really well, was Ricardo Fellas. He's back in 8th place now. You're talking about Bortolotti. That's commitment, isn't it, Dave? Whoa. On the grass.
He was so brave around there, but he didn't let up a bit, look. And he continued this round the outside fight all the way down to turn 4, and then this roller coaster down. You mentioned Ricardo Feller. Should also mention that Ricardo's brother was racing in a support race earlier on today here at Red Bull Ring. Yeah,
Ricardo, one of the 9 winners we've had this season, got his maiden victory at Imola. There, the replay of at the moment that Felipe Fraga realised he hadn't got all his tyres working at full inflation. And it's a bit of a mess that, wasn't it? That was, I'm pretty sure, from contact coming out of turn 3. So another bad day at the office, I'm afraid, for Felipe Fraga. Hasn't got anywhere near the number of points that he should have got this season, because he's been so many times in a good position and something's gone wrong for him. So they continue on. The gap grows. 1.4 seconds now. Nick Cassidy leads René Rast by. René's also going to be thinking to a point here, Dave. Do you know what? I don't really care about Nick Cassidy. Yes, I'd like 25 points for a win rather than 18 for second, but I'm beating everybody in the championship. They're all behind me.
You've nailed that absolutely perfectly. I mean, René is a racer par excellence, no question about that, but he's also quite a clever strategist, and he knows that the points that he will bank for where he is at the moment, of course, we've still got 48 minutes plus a lap to go. It's absolutely top of René's mind as we go into the pit lane now where Verena is waiting for us.
And I've got Dennis Olson here with me. So Dennis, talk us through it. What happened? Why did the race end so soon?
Well, I think it's just because people are not able to drive next to each other. In Spa in race 2, I saw the same guy doing the same thing, and now again we are victim of a very damaged car, unfortunately. I hope there will be a few consequences for this guy, because definitely he's not behaving so well on track. It's a shame because, yeah, it's a lot of damage, and also a chance of getting some points is away. We were P5 in the championship, and now
after today's qualifying. For sure, it's not great, and that puts us in a position where we end up in situations like this. But ultimately, I think it's sad that we cannot race nice and fair at the back as well.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Let's hope that the cars are right tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, looking pretty fed up with life, isn't he, Dennis Olson? Understandably so, because he's been on this great run of late and really dragged himself into the championship fight, but qualifying has been a bit of an Achilles heel for the SSR Performance team. Remember, they're in their first full season of DTM as well. They're a very ambitious team, a team which has already had some great results before they even came into DTM as well. But Dennis, they're very frustrated with being taken out of the race effectively with that big damage to the tyre and also to the side of the car. We've seen a couple of good ding-dongs that have been going on while we heard from Dennis in the pits. First of all, we had Maximilian Gutz and Ricardo Feller side by side for 8th place. Gutz has got away from Ricardo now. Ricardo's got his teammate Kelvin van der Linde on his tail. Kelvin in the final points paying position at the moment in 10th place. There was also a good ding-dong between two BMW drivers, Philipp Eng and Leon Kuhler, who are battling over 13th place and going wheel to wheel for about 4 corners, weren't they?
And Leon is absolutely not being stressed at all by the fact that the hard-charging Philipp Eng is right behind him. Philipp is trying every which way but loose, isn't he, to try and find a way past the DTM debutant Leon Kuhler. But Philipp Eng currently running P14 and Leon Kuhler running P13, and he's certainly not going to yield to the elder statesman behind him.
Now, in a really interesting piece that was put out by the AB team with René Rast's race engineer, Felix Fechner, Felix was saying that the big problem with the Audi, its weak point is we see Felipe Fraga, I'm afraid, out of the race, out of the car now, looking very, very disappointed. Let's go back to that in a minute because here's a replay. We see Felipe on the right-hand side there, going up the inside of 4 cars. That all worked. And then he just got tagged, I think, on the way out of the corner as he ran a little bit wide. So, yeah, it almost paid off that. That's the definition of focus, the forward-facing camera on Mirko Bortolotti's car. And the Italian looking absolutely focused and already up to 3rd place. Right, let's get some more news then from a very disappointed driver down with Verena.
I'm here with Felipe Fraga, obviously very disappointed because, again, you couldn't finish a race. What happened, Felipe?
Yeah, I was again hit from behind, you know, as always. You'll never see me hitting anyone here or getting punishment from that. It's just really bad. It's clear, like, Feller was releasing. He was lifting off in the straight to let Rust go, doing their playing game, you know, with teammates. I passed both in the break. And then in the exit of the corner, Feller keep hitting my wheel instead of go wide because Rust was there. And then, yes, they destroyed my race again. And nothing will happen again.
Okay, Felipe, thank you very much. Back to the commentator.
Yeah, frustration's boiling over for Felipe. It's only 4 times he's finished races now. As I say, he's had a win, he's had a second. He had actually a pretty solid, untroubled day largely at or weekend at Spa, but yeah, in the battles again there, what looked like contact between him and Ricardo Feller. So, which Feller dropped down the order as well. Now we've got the first round of pit stops coming in. So Stolz and, interestingly, Sheldon van der Linde have come in. I can see them opposite the commentary box window, and into the pits they come at the first of the mandatory pit stoppers. David Schumacher comes in. He's just been having a good scrap with Marco Wittmann, and Marius Zug, the 19-year-old, comes in as well. And Stolz is going to get out just ahead of Sheldon van der Linde as they come down the pit lane. Zug is coming in. Schumacher is released just behind. But that'll be frustrating for Sheldon van der Linde, and he won't get past Stolz as quickly as he can. But Stolz is going to be the leading pit stopper. And he too is involved in the championship, don't forget. 6th place in the points for Luca. He got his maiden DTM victory a couple of rounds ago in race 2 at the Nürburgring. So he'll be fighting for the points. And actually, Dave, the HRT team this year, under the guidance of Uli Fritz, have been fantastic at their pit stops. They've really made lots of ground up during their pit stops this year.
Yes, and the team works so very, very hard, don't they? They practice, they rehearse, they practice, they rehearse, and yes, led, as you say there, by Uli Fritz, who's really, really renowned, and he knows the score, and he knows how important that is. As Mirko Bortolotti, forgive me, is really beginning to reel in René Rast now. The gap is down to just under 2 tenths between the two of them. René under pressure here. Mirko Bortolotti really beginning to push him. It's playing into the hands nicely of Nick Cassidy, who's able to escape up the road and build that margin up to almost 1.5 seconds between P1 and P2.
Yeah, the point before it all kicked off that I was going to make about the Audis, what Felix Fechner was saying, the race engineer for René Rast, was that the car's probably Achilles heel is its traction out of slower corners. So they weren't expecting to be quick here because you've got that slow exit from the second gear corner at turn 1, and it's a slow exit from the first gear turn 3 corner. But actually they went really, really well, didn't they, in qualifying. However, they got this extra bit of BOP now. Don't forget the top 3 from the last race have to carry success ballast as well, and Nick Cassidy, of course, won the last race, so he's got the full amount of 25 kilograms of success ballast on board. Yeah, he's doing fine, isn't he, winning the race at the moment, finishing second last time out. Sheldon van der Linde with a bad grid has got to carry 15 kilograms of success ballast and 5 kilograms on the driver that finished third, which is Thomas Prining, who's made his way up to 5th place now as we get more pit stoppers, and they come out with that group of early pit stoppers, including Lucas Stoltz, who is about to try and pounce, I think, on Ricardo Feller. Is he going to get through? Grenier an hour just ahead of this are the leading pit stoppers for now. So Grenier just ahead of Auer. And then you've got, effectively, the battle for 3rd and 4th of the pit stoppers. They're not going to be 3rd and 4th once it all settles down. But Lucas Stoltz here, with his tyres up to temperature already, goes right, goes left, has a look around the outside. Is he going to do this? Brave stuff from the German driver. He's still trying to hang it around the outside of Ricardo Feller. Runs out of road, goes on the curbs, but it'll be a left-hander coming up if he can make it at turn 6. And a great drive, that, from Lucas Stoltz. He knew, Dave, he had to get the job done while Ricardo was getting his tyres up to temperature.
Absolutely wonderful to watch that. He was completely committed, and that commitment really did pay off, and that was a great overtake to enjoy. So here we can see P1, P2 and P3. The car we're looking at is René Rast running in P2 up this really, really steep climb. You don't see just how steep it is, really, and you continue climbing through the right-hander. Exit here is absolutely critical, and it's where Mirko Bortolotti can gain just a little bit.
Yeah, that Lamborghini struggles a bit for top line speed, but Mirko drives the wheels off it through the corners, doesn't he? That's for sure. So it's evenly matched. I'd say Mirko looks a bit quicker at the moment than Rast, but Rast has been able to keep him just about at arm's length. But a black and white warning flag for, guess what, track limits to Sheldon van der Linde. So got to be a little bit careful here, Sheldon, to not get more than 3 of those, otherwise he starts getting penalties. There is the battle resumed now with Schumacher and Wittmann. So Wittmann and Buch have just been in. They come out, Buch ahead of Wittmann. Wittmann was just behind Schumacher when they were battling before Schumacher came in to make his pit stop. But Schumacher's got his tyres up to temperature and might well get that position back. Here are the overall top 3, Cassidy, Rast and Bortolotti. And the longer Rast has to fend off Bortolotti, the better that will be for Nick Cassidy, who can just drive that Ferrari, not have to defend and use the ideal racing line. So he's 1.7 seconds clear now.
Yes, as I mentioned, that plays into his hands nicely. He's just able to focus on every apex of every turn, untroubled. And here we can see Sheldon van der Linde then, and Sheldon van der Linde and Ricardo Feller. Sheldon van der Linde then, of course, the Drivers' Championship points leader, thinking about where and how he can maximise his points haul from this race, from a torrid qualifying session. So Sheldon van der Linde, who, of course, has been in and taken his mandatory pit stop. And this is how, in replay, putting it to the inside, and I think the expression is sending it, Chris.
Sending it, yeah.
Send it, he did.
Yeah, down the inside at turn 4. Ricardo's tyres a lap later should have been up to temperature by now. So good move that from Sheldon to get the job done. Now remember, Ricardo was in the top 10 before the pit stop started, so the fact that Sheldon is now ahead of him, this bodes well for potential points here. Sheldon, from the 10th row of the grid, very nearly got into the points in race 1 at Spa. Oh, it gets worse for SSR Performance because there are other drivers out of the race now. Laurens van Toor came into the pits. I assumed it was for a mandatory stop, but he's got a problem and he's out of the race, I'm afraid. Rolf Inaischen has been in for his mandatory pit stop and rejoins now out on track. So Nick Cassidy extends his lead bit by bit, nearly 1.7 seconds clear of René Rast, the 33 Audi there in second place. Mirko Bortolotti in third. Rast is second in the championship. Bortolotti is fourth in the championship. Nico Muller is in fifth place, but he's 3.7 seconds back and has got Thomas Prining breathing down his neck at the moment. Prining was a 10th quicker on the previous lap, so the Porsche putting pressure on the Team Rosberg Audi for fifth place. Maro Engel going well in sixth, but comes into the pits. So Maro Engel, the first of this front-running group to come in, and Maximilian Goltz has come into the pits as well, I can see from opposite the commentary box window. So the two bright pink Mercedes in together, and the teams will now get those cars in and out as quickly, as effectively as they can. They change the rears, they change the fronts. Cars are released. Maximilian Goltz gets away, and out they go. And car 22 which is Lucas Auer, third in the championship, under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. So there we go. Engel got out just ahead of Gotts. So Grenier is the leading pit stopper. Auer, who's under investigation now, there is second of the pit stoppers. Then it's going to be Engel, then it's going to be Gotts, and then it's going to be Stolz, fifth of the pit stoppers. But with tyres up to temperature, might be a quiet driver, the German Lucas Stolz, but he's pretty fiery behind the wheel, Dave. We've seen that already in this race, so he's going to have to go for it on this lap now, isn't he?
He is definitely going to have to go for it in this particular lap. Do you know, I'm perhaps a little bit surprised here that I would have thought that the GRT, with Mirko Bortolotti not able to find a way past Rast, that they might have brought him in early and try and go for an undercut, but they haven't done that.
No, they haven't, no, and you're right, he's sort of stuck behind him at the moment, isn't he? 3-4 tenths of a second. He can't really get any closer, but obviously still a long way to go in the race. What they learnt maybe in free practice about the tyre wear around here. Is it going to be too early to come in? You're also, I suppose, always hoping for a safety car. You leave it later because you can use the safety car and pit as a mandatory stop these days. So that could be a thing. But in has come Thomas Prining. So from 5th place, Prining comes in and makes his stop. And it looks like a pretty good one for the Koos Team Bernhard squad, Timo Bernhard's team. There's a question asked about why Abt have been the most successful Audi team this year. They got 3 drivers was the answer. They're all very quick drivers. René Rast, Ricardo Feller and Kelvin van der Linde. And that gives the engineers much more opportunity to see the data, to try different things out. But you've got Tommy Prining on his own in that team. He's doing a fantastic job, isn't he, to be, 7th in the championship table with no support from a teammate. The whole idea this year was to concentrate on the one driver, but Team Bernhard have said going forward they probably would like to have a 2-car team, but given that they've only got 1 car and 1 driver, they're doing fantastically well, aren't they?
Yes, no, absolutely. Let's ride on board now with Mirko Bortolotti, who just, after I've said that I'm surprised they haven't brought him in, he does get closer to René Rast now. It's all very well being closer, it's all very well being even quicker than the car in front of you. You've got to find a way by, and René is renowned for being able to defend as well as attack, and metaphorically he'll stick his elbows out, and he certainly isn't going to make it very easy for Mirko Bortolotti, who will do and try everything he possibly can to try and find a way past that Audi of René Rast, currently running in P2.
Lucas Auer, 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So that's a big blow for the driver, 3rd in the championship at his home race as well. He's never won here at the Red Bull Ring as Nico Muller comes into the pit. So 10 seconds to be added on to Lucas Auer's time. As we see the top 3 pushing on. Prining is, I think, still behind Grenier. So Grenier is still the leading pit stopper, but Prining will have much fresher tyres as the race goes on. So they're 9th and 10th at the moment. Nico Muller in the pits currently, just being released by the team, by Team Rosberg. So the Swiss driver about to head back out. He's going to be, amongst perhaps other things, next year racing in Formula E. There's confirmation of the time penalty for Lucas Auer. And there is Michael Grenier, who's the leading pit stopper in the Mercedes coming through. Let's head back down, though, to Verena in the pit lane.
And now I'm here with Laurens van Toor, and we can see your car. It's pretty damaged. So what happened?
I had a decent start, but then I was sandwiched 4 times in a row, where I got completely hit in the back and then hit the guy in front of me. And yeah, the splitter is damaged, the rear diffuser is half missing, so I couldn't drive anymore.
But hopefully the car's going to be all right by tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure it will be able to be fixed tomorrow, but yeah, for this race it was just, the splitter was flattering on the straight on the floor and made no sense to continue like that.
All right, thank you very much, Laurens. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, really difficult season. Laurens van Toor said, yes, it's been the toughest season I've had for a long, long time. He's the driver used to great success in GT racing normally, but tough day at the office for him again. Tough day at the office for the SSR performance team. So Michael Grenier is the leading pit stopper, just ahead of Nico Muller, but Muller's got fresher tyres. Then Prining is just behind him in the Porsche. They're the top 3 pit stoppers. You've got Cassidy in the overall lead in the Ferrari just going through. Rast and Bortolotti here 2nd and 3rd. Kelvin van der Linde is up to 4th place. Leon Kohler is up to 5th. Arjun Maini is up to 6th place, despite the spin earlier on. Dev Gore is 7th. And they're the drivers that have yet to make their mandatory pit stop. So everybody else has now been in, Dave. So something slightly different here from the leaders or the top 7. They are trying to push this mandatory pit stop as late as they can.
Well, what of course it's going to do is it's going to give them tyre longevity towards the end of the race, isn't it? They're going to have fresher tyres than anybody else by dint of them being the final ones to come in for their mandatory stop, and that may, Michael Grenier, oh my goodness me.
Tommy Prining about to go down the inside of Nico Muller. Fabulous move. They both go out wide on the exit though, then Lucas Auer gets in between the pair of them, but remember Lucas has got a 10-second penalty for pit lane speeding, so he's got to carry that, add it onto his time at the end of the race. But great move that from Tommy Prining.
And wasn't it a great move from Lucas Auer, who just saw the opportunity and thought, I'm going to have some of that as well. Yes, he's got that 10-second time penalty, but wow, Loki, well done. That was really good to watch.
Maxi Buch, the latest driver to get a warning for track limits, so get away with it twice. Third time is a warning. After that, penalties start to be added on. Here's a replay to turn 3. Sent it. I think it wasn't quite without contact on the way out of the corner, was it? Nico Muller might not be completely happy about that move, I would have thought. Yeah, just a bit of contact there, but Thomas Prining, that 100% commitment down the inside. Nico got the contact, was sent out wide, and as you say, Lucas Auer watched it all go on just ahead of him, kept it to arm's distance, and then slotted himself in between the pair of them.
That was wonderful to watch, wasn't it? It's absolutely brilliant stuff. So here we can see our race leader, Nick Cassidy, then, who now has a very nearly 2-second gap over this man, René Rast, running in P2, and Mirko Bortolotti, who still, despite valiant efforts, has gone away a little bit now, but he's been closer than this to René Rast, but he's just not been able to find a way to even attack, really. Lucas
Auer has got the fastest lap at the moment. As long as you're classified in the race, you get the fastest lap point. Things all add up, plus the points in qualifying, of course, that all add up. It's good to see the Canadian driver, Michael Grenier, starting to find his stride. He had a really impressive start to the season, actually, at Portimao. Very, very quick there, qualified up near the front, but sort of went off the ball, and he had 3 DNFs in rounds 2, 3 and 4 of the championship. But of late, he's picked up 3-point scoring finishes out of the last 4 races, including his best so far in DTM, which was 6th in race 2 at Spa. So good to see Michael up there, and Grenier is certainly in the hunt for some good points in this race as the driver that leads those that have made their pit stop. So he looks very much like he's going to be in the top 10 when this all settles down. So we've got 30 minutes, 38 seconds remaining in the race, plus 1 lap at the end of it. I'm getting a little bit closer towards the end of that pit window now. Have to pit between 10th and 40th minute of the race. Cassidy is just edging away. It's only bit by bit, but 2 seconds clear now. Rast has his mirrors absolutely full still of Mirko Bortolotti, who of course went for a move on Felipe Fraga at the Nürburgring a couple of rounds ago when they were first and second on a still slightly damp track after all that fog that we'd had and the delayed start, and the move didn't pay off, and they came together and they both fell out of the points. Then the next day he had an attempted move for 4th towards the end of the race on Kelvin van der Linde. That didn't pay off, and he dropped down the order and didn't score any points that weekend. But I don't think he can let that affect him, because actually now, and that was when he was the championship leader or second in the championship, but now he is chasing. He has got to catch up to Sheldon van der Linde, and this is a great opportunity with Sheldon starting the race back in 16th on the grid. So I don't think Mirko is the sort of driver that's going to let that niggle away at him. I think he'll still go for it if the chance arises.
I've been watching him whilst you've been telling us that, and just Bortolotti on this lap has been closer than he's been for a long time in terms of trying to reel in René Rast. I just think it's really, really tricky, to not only reel him in, but then try and find somewhere to try and overtake him. There just isn't the pace deficit between the two of those cars running in P2 and P3. So René Rast remains P2, Bortolotti P3.
Max Scott and Arjun Mahdi are the latest 2 drivers to get warnings for track limits. As we see Michael Grenier flashing the headlights, proper touring car trick. That is Thomas Prining, the former Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland champion. Spent the last couple of seasons racing with Team Bernard in the ADAC GT Masters Championship with some mixed results, but he really has found a home here in DTM. Really promising young driver. His home country, of course, as well, and he is a driver that I first came across when he was just a teenager racing in the European Rotax Max Karting Championship. He totally dominated the Junior European Championship that year, and it's great to see that his career path has taken him to DTM already. Still in his early 20s, Tommy Prining, but Lucas Auer comes at him, gets a much better rise up the hill. Or has Prining got a problem? He's got a problem. Yeah, he slowed right down. Oh dear, so loses 2 places. Muller gets past him as well. Car still running, but he just looked like he was lacking top speed there. He still looks okay coming out of the corner.
Strange. So we'll see if Thomas Prining is able to get back to the pace that he had prior to that. And it looks like he is, because now he's trying to come back at Nico Muller, isn't he?
Looks like it was a gear changes or a reset maybe. Kelvin van der Linde had that last year, didn't he, at the Lausitz ring where he was first. And then suddenly the car just slowed dramatically, dropped to 3rd or 4th place, and then it fired back up, he reset it, and it was okay again. Just guessing, but anyway, all we can say is that Porsche definitely looks racy again, doesn't he? He showed his nose there again to Nico Muller. Nico Muller was probably not keen to let him through for a second time after the move up at turn 3 a few laps ago.
Yes, that was hard, wasn't it? It was hard. Nick Cassidy, as you said, he's been piling on the 100ths and 10ths, but he's just dropped a little bit of pace in comparison to Rast and Bortolotti. And of course, we're getting to the time now, Chris, where they've got to come in, aren't we?
Yeah, well, Cassidy's time at 1 minute 30.2, whereas Grenier, who's the leading pit stopper with fresher tyres, 1 minute 30.5. So the pace is still good, actually. His tyres tend to have a pretty good longevity, don't they? So,
but on the last lap, Rast was quicker.
Yeah, we've still got 12 minutes before the pit stop window closes. But yeah, Cassidy, he's a smooth driver, isn't he, Nick? So that will help, looking after the tyres. And he hasn't had to weave around and defend. Here we go again. Oh, same corner. Done it. Same move from Thomas Prining. Nico Muller, not happy about it. Elbows out, contact between them, but it's the same result. The Porsche is going to get through, I think. Yes, he is. I don't think Thomas Prining's going to be at the top of Nico Muller's Christmas card list at the end of the year, is he?
Taking the words out of my mouth. That's precisely what I was going to say. He did it. It was a carbon copy, wasn't it?
Yeah, Nico fought back a bit more this time. I think he knew exactly what was coming, didn't he? But there you go. Prining through. Here's a replay. He's got the inside line. Ooh, pushing on. Oh, Thomas Prining to give back 2 positions is the message that's just come up on our screen from the officials. So car 24 to give back 2 positions.
Okay.
So that was all for nothing by the sounds of it. And he'll have to have a 3rd go at Nico Muller if he follows that procedure. Well, Lucas Auer is 2nd of the pit stoppers at the moment, currently running just behind Michael Grenier. They're 8th and 9th on the road. The top 7 have yet to make their pit stops, but Auer is looking itchy. He knows about this 10-second penalty. He knows he needs to pull clear. He's going for the inside line on the run into turn 1, and in his home race, great move that from Lucas Auer into the 2nd gear, turn 1. He goes through on Michael Grenier. Grenier gets a better run coming out of the corner, though, as they rise up out of Niki Lauda, head up towards turn 2, and then up to the next braking zone at turn 3. Auer with his mirrors full of Grenier, who's trying to come back at him here, but Lugi is very, very good on the brakes and keeps him at bay. So now he needs to get his head down and pull away and get as far away from everybody as he can, knowing that as 10 seconds is going to be added onto his time. There is the BMW of Sheldon van der Linde, who is struggling to get on terms, isn't he, with that group ahead. Just can't stay with Lucas Stolzer at the moment. And here we go. Thomas Prining's added again.
No one's told him yet.
No, nobody's told him about this. Incident involving cars 24 and 51 under investigation. That's Prining and Muller, as Prining now switches back around the outside. Grenier and the Mercedes on the inside still. On the curbs he goes. Muller's watching in the background just behind as well. Grenier stands firm, holds off the Porsche for now, but has to take a tighter line into the corner that he wants to. That sent him a bit wide on the exit to the turn. They go over the crest now and then downhill towards turn 9 at Jochen Rindt turn. And after the former Formula 1 world champion, the posthumous Formula 1 world champion from Austria. But Grenier fends him off, and then Muller's gone through ahead of Prining as well. Maybe he's got that message about letting drivers through, or maybe he just ran out of steam there after that big battle with Michael Grenier. So it's been an interesting race so far for Thomas Prining, hasn't it?
Who is still absolutely... I'm not sure he has had that message yet, Chris, because he is attacking, isn't he? Nico Muller, I think, was the beneficiary of the fight that was going on, and he was able to get back past Thomas Prining, but Prining is fighting for this.
He is, right. Third time he's going to have a go at Nico Muller. This time it's going to have to be the outside line. He's got his nose in front. He's trying to go around Nico, but Nico, with all his experience, keeps him at bay, gets on the gas here with a tight exit, though. He's still going to have the Porsche alongside him, but remember, right-hander coming up. It's a downhill braking into turn 4 as well, which is tricky. Here comes Prining around the outside. Breathe in, everybody. Who's going to get to the corner first? It's going to be Prining. Prining, but he's on the outside, misses the braking point. Muller gets back down the inside, then Muller goes wide on the way out of turn 4 into turn 5, side by side. Left-hander coming up at turn 6. Muller's got the inside line. Prining's got his nose in front. Muller back through. What a fantastic battle this is. There is no love lost between these two, that's for sure, and it's brought everybody else onto their case as Prining back down the inside of Muller here. Side by side, contact once again. 3 abreast as Mauro Engel gets involved in this day. Fantastic.
Absolutely awesome racing that we're seeing here. Oh, and look at these 2, 4, 5 cars involved in this battle now, and it could go any which way. And bearing in mind, Thomas Prining's supposed to give 2 places back.
Yeah, that's gone out the window, hasn't it?
That's rather.
Oh, Muller and Prining absolutely hammer and tongs at it. That has all the hallmarks, Dave, of 2 drivers that are not really interested in championship points. They just want to race and get as high at the order as they can.
I mean, for us, it's absolutely awesome racing. Absolutely brilliant as they run up now towards turn number 3, through the kink, taking full chat flat, which is turn number 2. Sadly, from our perspective, they're not quite as close as they were on the previous lap.
Not quite, but still very, very close. Look at this, a train of 7 cars altogether. It's allowed Sheldon van der Linde to catch up as well. Just what he needed, them to fight and for him to be able to catch up. And I've just been keeping an eye on the timing screen between these two as well. That's a couple of laps. And at the start of this lap, Bortolotti quicker than Rast. So he's, again, really squeezing the 3-time champion here. And really, Nick Cassidy not getting any further away from them. The quicker of the 3 of the last lap was Bortolotti. They stay out for another lap still, so they're going to push it right to the end here. Rast in the inside there, clobbers the curb through turn 1, goes out wide, accelerates up through the gears. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. He'll get to about 240 kilometres an hour as he goes through the flat-out kink at turn 2. And then it'll be down all the way to 65 kilometres an hour on the brakes into turn 3. But Bortolotti thinking about it, not quite as close, but the body language looks a bit more menacing now from the Italian, doesn't it?
I agree, and that Lamborghini really has got grunt out of corners, hasn't it? And there's no doubt about it that Rene is doing a very, very good job in defending. But actually, Mirko, I just think he's biding his time here, Chris. And, you know, an opportunity will come, then he will seize it like a viper. But Rene is not one for yielding to pressure, is he? You know, he doesn't make mistakes, and therefore Mirko's going to have to use everything in his armoury to try and find a way. Yes, he is a little bit quicker, but you've still got to get past the car that's in front of you, which at the moment he's been unable to do.
Yeah, he's absolutely able to set the pressure up, isn't he? He's shown that in qualifying as Nico Muller. He's going on the attack now for Michael Grenier, and Muller gets a better exit here coming out of turn 3. He's just about getting his foot in the door for the inside run downhill into turn 4. He's going to go for it, Nico Muller here, and this will be to become the leading pit stopper to get ahead of Grenier. He's just about squeezing through, and then Prining goes up the inside as well, and Grenier loses 2 for the price of 1 and drops to 3rd in the group. So that is Muller then up ahead of him, and Grenier dropping back down 2 places as a result of all of that. And remember, Auer is in front of Muller, but Auer's got 10 seconds to add on to his time, so Muller effectively moves up to 8th place now, but we've still got the top 7 to come in and make their pit stops as well. Replay then of, this is the earlier battle, one of them, between Prining and Muller.
Fair play to both of them. Those that haven't been able to take advantage quite in the way that I expected them to be able to do it is Mauro Engel and Maxi Gertz, who I thought would... I mean, these replay shots are just fantastic and prove just how fraught this fight is between them.
No, not a quarter given between any of the drivers. Right, Grenier having dropped back down 2 places as we get a ballistic replay there. That's coming to the pits. So Grenier comes into the pits now. He's already made his pit stop, of course, so has he got an issue with the car? Has he picked up a bit of damage? But he's tumbling down the order now, I'm afraid, so a real shame for him. And he's gone straight into the garage. So Grenier, after what was looking like a promising point-scoring finish, out of the race, I'm afraid. So Cassidy stays out. Bortolotti now shows his nose. He's starting to look a little bit itchy, a little bit angsty. He wants to get through. He wants to get ahead of Rast. It's not just about gaining the place. It's about not being held up, because he knows he's got to get his pit stop out of the way and make sure he's got enough of a gap to hold a chance of a podium once he gets put back out into the pack potentially. So the longer you leave it, you're going to have fresher tyres, but you're going to have less time to use those fresh tyres.
That's a very fair point. Very fair point.
They're getting ready,
yes.
aren't they, for Mirko Bortolotti and potentially for René Rast down at Ab Sportsline. Could be a race between the pit crews, this, if they come in together. And there's been some good pit stops as well this year from the Alpha Tauri team. The AF Corsa squad, Amato Ferrari's team, have been pretty handy in the pit stops this year as they were last. Bortolotti, though, no doubt about it, is the quicker of the two at the moment. Is he going to have a lunge? Is he going to wait to come into the pits? Well, we get a chance because René Rast just hasn't really left the door open yet, has he? Trying to look down the outside, trying to show his nose, trying to cut back down the inside, but through the middle of the lap here, Dave, it's hard to find a way through, isn't it? Unless your name's Thomas Prining.
Yes. René knows exactly where to position the car, doesn't he? And he does that corner after corner. He knows more than anybody else that Mirko Bortolotti might be a shade quicker than him, and what he's not doing is giving him any centimetre of tarmac to be able to take advantage. As we can see, the AF Corsa AlphaTauri team getting ready, and we think that Abton GRT are getting ready as well. And those top three are probably all going to come in at the same time, which is going to be terribly exciting for us.
It's got to be this lap or the next because there's 2.5
Rast
minutes to go.
in.
Yeah, Cassidy and Bortolotti stay out. I guess Bortolotti kind of had to do something different, didn't he? So
yes.
he has got to put his head down now and have a fantastic lap before he comes into the pits. I think Cassidy probably going to come in at the end of this lap. There's only just over 2 minutes to go before the pit window will close. As long as you get to the pit line entry line before that time is up, you're okay. But Rast through to make what's a critical pit stop now for the championship.
You could see the anxiety on Thomas Biermeier's face, couldn't you? Because this has got to be absolutely seamless, hasn't it? They've got to do it.
Go, go, go.
Arjamani in the pits behind as well, and that looked pretty slick. We don't get the time, but that looked like a good stop. So he's got that big, nice, empty trap behind him, René Rast.
Power with a 10-second penalty is now on start-finish.
Yeah, he doesn't really need to worry about Lucas out because of that penalty.
Braking for turn 1 now.
His race is with the two that have got to come in and make their pit stop very, very shortly, and that being Nick Cassidy and Mirko, particularly Mirko Bortolotti. There was a lot riding on that pit stop. You get it wrong by half a second, he's going to be behind the Italian, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where the driver relies so much on the support of the team. And they did deliver, no question about that, during that pit stop. Bortolotti doing, as you say, he's throwing everything at this like a quali lap, isn't he?
Yeah, 22.6 through the first sector was quicker than anybody through the first sector. I think you might have done track limits on that one, though. Oh, Cassidy, last second, goes for the pits, and so too Bortolotti. Had to, it's less than a minute to go now. So Ferrari versus Lamborghini. Remember, Bortolotti and Lamborghini haven't won a race yet in DTM. Lamborghini's the only brand yet to win. Bortolotti's the only championship contender yet to win. He's got a real chance here, but first of all, he's got to make sure he's out ahead of René Rast. So in they come. So going to be like forever going down the pit lane, sticking to the 60km/h speed limit for Nick Cassidy. He's almost at the end of the pit lane before the box, and he comes in. It all looks good. They changed the rears, they changed the fronts. Here comes Bortolotti. Out goes Cassidy. Van der Linde's come in from what was fourth place as well, and he's going to be well clear. But what about Rast? Rast is about to come over the start-finish line. Tyres up to temperature. Do you know what? He might get the pair of them here. He might get the pair of them and get the lead of the race if he can just have a go through turns 3 and 4. Maybe not Cassidy. Here they come. Then up the hill, Cassidy. These tyres tend to take a lap to get going. He's well clear of Bortolotti already, look, though, isn't he? Bortolotti comes out with Auer breathing down his neck, but Auer with this time penalty to be added on of 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. So I'm afraid that has not worked out well for the Grasser Racing team, the local team here, has it? And Bortolotti, who's really struggling to get the power down, look, on those cold tyres coming out of the turn.
It's easy, isn't it, for us to stand up here and pontificate and be strategists, but I'm still surprised that they did not bring Mirko in earlier on in the race and try and undercut then. Whereas now it's kind of, what have we got, 14.5 minutes plus a lap remaining. Luigi Auer right behind him now, but as you quite rightly say, Lucas Auer has got a time penalty to be set against him, and all the time, of course, Mirko Bortolotti's trying to get temperature into these tyres.
So he's not really racing Auer here because of the penalty, but he doesn't want him to get in front because Auer's got older tyres. And if Auer gets past him now, later on he's going to get stuck behind him as the tyres go off, and that could cost him potential points. He's on for a potential podium here, but it might not be any higher than third because he's suddenly lost a lot of ground, hasn't he, to René Rast, who is still trying to home in on Nick Cassidy. We could get a replay of the big fight we had between the New Zealander and the German at Spa just 2 weeks ago. But Bortolotti has been stranded well and truly down out of that fight now, hasn't he, in third place. So 4th on the road is Lucas Auer.
This will be why, Chris.
Front right, came off all right. It's the front left. It's the front left that's cost them the time. Oh, real shame for the Grasser Racing team. We're based just about 15 minutes from here. Bortolotti then, a chance of a victory probably gone as we go down to Verena in the pits.
I've got Michael Grenier here. Michael, what exactly happened in the race that it ended for you?
Well, we had a pretty good start. Made a few spots. And I think on the second lap had a small contact with Maini, and I think he spun because of the contact. I wasn't sure if we touched or not, but apparently we had a small contact. Then we had a drive-through, so we tried to go long to try to catch a safety car. And then we had to stop because at the start we had I was a bit sandwiched and there was a vibration in the rear, so decided to stop to check the car for tomorrow, and yeah, we will see.
All right, well, better luck for tomorrow. Thank you very much, Michael, and back to you.
Yeah, real shame. He was driving well, wasn't he, Michael Grenier? But what about the fight for the lead of the race? Cassidy versus Rast, 2.7 seconds is the gap. So actually, he's grown it by about 7/10 of a second during that pit stop phase, Nick Cassidy. So it was a very good stop, it seems, even though it was a very good stop from Abt, also by the AF Corsa squad. Bortolotti is 3rd. Auer is 4th, but with a 10-second penalty that is going to drop him back quite a few places at the moment. Certainly behind Muller, who's 5th and will inherit 4th. Prining, of course, is just behind Muller, 6th on the road at the moment. Then Engel 7th, Kelvin van der Linde 8th, Gotts in 9th, Stoltz in 10th, Sheldon van der Linde 11th. 11th is, well, it's pointless. He needs to get one more place, doesn't he? He might as well go for it. He's not far behind Lucas Stoltz. He's only 7/10 of a second behind the Mercedes driver.
Absolutely, he's going to have to go for that, isn't he? He needs to bank whatever he can bank, and at the moment it looks like a lonely score is going to be the only possibility of banking, but banking that is better than banking nothing, as that in super slow-mo replay, just how hard that 488 is being pushed by Nick Cassidy at the moment for AlphaTauri AF Corsa.
Do you know what? What I will say, though, is if you had 10 seconds onto Lucas Auer's time, he's actually just behind Sheldon van der Linde, so it's really hurting Lucas at the moment, this 10-second penalty. I reckon it will drop him from 4th to 11th as it stands, just by about half a second or so. Right, that could be useful. That will be the 3rd time this season, if it stays like this, that Mirko Bortolotti has picked up the Auto Hero fastest lap point, and it's a point well worth getting. So he is pushing on, trying to make up from that pit stop. He's set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:29.3. He was 6/10 quicker than René Rast on that lap, 3.1 seconds behind, 11 minutes plus 1 lap to go. He's not giving up yet, is he?
No, he isn't. And that's typical of Mirko Bortolotti, isn't it? He will drive everything off of that car to try and get on terms with René Rast. It's going to be a big ask with just under 11 minutes and 1 lap remaining, but you can see them now, and if he continues to offer the pace that he's offering currently, he is going to get closer.
He is, yeah. So there you see the live points update, 14 it would be. At the start of the race, it was 31 points between Sheldon van der Linde and René Rast. Things can change very quickly in the space of just one race, can't they? Add 10 seconds onto Lucas Auer's time. That puts him still, I reckon, just behind Sheldon van der Linde, only about 9/10 of a second. So Sheldon's just got to keep going here, see if he can get 1 or 2 points out of this, then have a hopefully better qualifying from his point of view tomorrow.
Here comes round 2, Nick.
Round 4 or 5, isn't it? I think, yeah. Rubbing his hands in glee here is Dave Richardson alongside me in the commentary box, because we're about to get Nico Muller versus Thomas Prining again here. They are 5th and 6th on the road, but effectively this is the battle for 4th place, with Auer ahead of them, carrying this 10-second penalty from earlier in the race for speeding in the pit lane. And Thomas Prining gets a really good exit there out of turn 4, doesn't he?
Yes. Hold on to everything, any loose clothing you happen to have, as Thomas Prining shows his face to Nico Muller. So Nico Muller and Thomas Prining, who both should potentially award Entertainer of the Day thus far for the real rubbing racing that we've seen from them. And it looks like we're going to get another episode of that as well as we go on board with Thomas Prining now. His prey ahead of him is Nico Muller, and he's certainly not been afraid of putting it alongside Nico Muller previously, and we expect the same to come. Maybe not now on this lap, but maybe on the next lap. So let's see how close Thomas Prining will get to Nico Muller now as they run through the Lauda turn at the end of this start-finish straight. And he's reeling him in, and then, of course, the long run up through turn number 2 to turn number 3. Hold on to your hats, everybody. It could come this time around.
I can't quite decide if these two are going to have a friendly hug at the end of the race, shake hands and say, that was great racing, and have a big smile on their face, or there's going to be a bit of annoyance, particularly maybe from Nico Muller's point of view. I think probably the latter. Here we go again. He goes right, he goes down the inside, and it's the third time in this race that he's gone down the inside of Nico Muller at that corner, right at the very last millisecond. The Porsche through once again, and Nico couldn't do anything about stopping it. He just looks like he's not going to do the move. He's so far away, and then almost into the corner, he just goes for it, doesn't he?
Absolutely extraordinary stuff. Thomas Prining, I'm afraid to say, I don't think there's going to be hugs at the end of the race.
No, I think that's definitely out of the question now, isn't it? No respecter of a race-winning DTM driver, a multiple race-winning DTM driver is Tommy Prining, of course, now himself a race winner. Sent it again at the inside.
And then just almost leaned on him to prevent him coming.
I'm afraid it wasn't without contact again, that's
Take
for sure.
that, chap, take that.
Do you know what, given the amount of times in this race and this season that we've seen two cars coming together and then one of them retires with damage or a puncture, these two have hit each other about 6 times now. They're still going. They're robust, those cars, aren't they? Well, he's got his head down now, and it's actually pulled about 2 car lengths clear. So Nico Muller, for now, is a bit of a breather.
He's thinking, I'm going to save the car.
Yeah,
can't take any more.
Try and get it to the end of the race. So a huge battle here. That's definitely going to feature in the highlights, that, isn't it? So Cassidy, meanwhile, extends his lead. 2.8 seconds clear of Rast. 129.6 for the leader. A 130.0 for Rast. 130.1 for Bortolotti. So the gap's growing between first and second and third places. Personal best last time around for David Schumacher, 130.2. He's as quick as those drivers in the top 6, David Schumacher. So he's 17th. Doesn't look like he's going to score any points, but he's definitely got the potential, David Schumacher, to get into the points this season. I don't think he's quite going to come in this race, but he's clearly got the pace in himself with a big step up, big change of career direction to go from single-seater background into DTM, but he's learnt well this year. So we've lost Schmitz, Grenier, Vantour, Fraga and Olson from the race. 22 cars still on track, and at the head of the pack is this man with, remember, 25 kilograms of success ballast on board, having won race 2 at Spa. Doesn't seem to be affecting him too much, does it? The Ferrari marches on, and we know that the car is well set to this circuit, given what they did here with a double victory last season. And this looks like Nick Cassidy might be, Dave, about to become only the second driver this season to win more than one race, the other one being the points leader Sheldon van der Linde.
Well, we do still have 6 minutes and a lap to go, so you're absolutely right. That could be the case. Cassidy with a lead now of just over 3 seconds. We see him running up into turn number 3 now, the right-hander. You can just see René Rast in the background, and Mirko Bortolotti, of course, running in P3. Lucas Auer, who is P4, of course, has that time penalty to come. Then it is the warring factions of Thomas Prining and Nico Muller, and Prining actually has stretched his legs over Nico Muller now, ahead of Maro Engel, Kelvin van der Linde, Maxi Gertz, and Lucas Stoltz rounding out the top 10.
Auer's lapping well. He did a 1:30.2. Sheldon van der Linde did a 1:34.4. And at the moment, if you add 10 seconds on to Auer's time, he's just in front of van der Linde now by a couple of tenths. So that would put him into 10th place to get the last championship point. Oh, there's a real shame. Leon Kohler, who's been really impressive on his DTM debut, looks like he's become the latest retirement as the Volkenhorst BMW is parked up in the garage. But hasn't he done well this weekend?
Had a tad of trouble with his audio cable there, didn't he? I think that was an XLR that wasn't going to release.
Quite get out. Quite a smooth exit he was hoping for. Oh, kart 24, Thomas Prining, 10-second time penalty. Assume that's to do with the contact.
I'm kind of not altogether surprised by that.
Right, so that means Thomas Prining, he's currently in 5th place. He's going to drop back to, well, out of the points.
So that must help Sheldon.
Yeah, I don't think Sheldon is ahead of Auer anymore with the 10 seconds, but I think he is ahead of Thomas Prining. So it might just be one championship point at the moment for Sheldon van der Linde, and they all count. Everyone's going to count. You remember last year, Dave, 3 points between the top 2 at the end of the championship year. So a point will be well worth getting here if he can hang on to it, Sheldon van der Linde. But, you know, Thomas Prining's going to get that message and go like the clappers now, isn't he, for the last 4 minutes plus 1 lap of the race.
If that car is capable of giving him any more than it's given him so far, to be honest with you. But
with the gaffer tape on that tonight, weren't they, I think?
I think so. But nonetheless, despite the time penalty, Thomas, thank you for the joy you've given Chris and I in being able to talk about your antics on the track this afternoon. Absolutely brilliant stuff. So that will make a difference. And as you say, when it comes to the end of the season, and we're not that far away from that now, that singular point that Sheldon might be able to bank might be absolutely critical, Chris.
And I'd love to have heard the team radio from Team Rosberg to Nico Muller when they delivered the news that Tommy Prining was getting a 10-second penalty. I would have left to have been a fly on the wall to get the response from Nico. Yes. Right, so that will put Muller up into 5th place, put Engel up into 6th, put Kelvin van der Linde up to 7th. This is just one of the moments, but that's perhaps the straw that broke the camel's back, isn't it, in terms of the penalty from the officials?
Get in, chap.
Well, he's not boring, is he, Thomas Prining? Put it that way. Maybe
looked in the rearview mirror to make sure he'd done it properly.
Maybe a bit too exciting for the officials. Definitely too exciting for Nico Muller, who was bearing the brunt of that several times, wasn't he, on the right-hand side of the Audi. So Prining, 10-second penalties. The drivers 4th and 5th on the road, Auer and Prining, both Austrian drivers, of course, are going to, in their home race, drop down the order. And this could help out Sheldon van der Linde to get 1 point. So Muller will move up to 4th place, ahead of Auer and Prining. Engel will move up to 5th. Kelvin van der Linde will move up to 6th. Maxi Götz up to 7th. Lucas Stoltz up to 8th. And then it depends what sort of speed they put on for the last few minutes of the race, where in the tail end of that top 10 they end up at the moment. Auer currently is going to be, well, a 1/10 of a second in front of Sheldon van der Linde, I reckon. That's all it is. So you could get 2 points out of this if Auer slows up towards the end.
Here's the live championship predictions. It's everything finished as it was now.
Well, that has Sheldon down for 9th place, doesn't it? Just with 132 points. 15 points, though. It's not a lot, is it, with 3 races still to go?
No. And there you can see that's the predictor, as it were, if everything were to finish now. But we do have 2 minutes, or just under 2 minutes of the race remaining, plus a lap. There is Sheldon van der Linde, our championship leader, who has now got Philipp Eng right behind him for Schubert Motorsport, of course. And Arjun Mainy's sitting behind those two at the moment. So Nick Cassidy leading by just about 3.5 seconds over René Rast in P2, Mirko Bortolotti in P3.
Well, not ironically, but sort of not really going to affect things. Under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, he's car 10, but he's out of the race anyway, isn't he, Leon Kohling? But that might affect tomorrow if it is a penalty, so that could affect his grid position tomorrow. Big podium this will be for Mirko Bortolotti. He'll be frustrated, I think, that he didn't get a chance to get second, at least, maybe first, with that problem with the pit stop. But it's the first podium for a long time for Mirko, and of the top 8, he's only scored 28 points from the last 6 races, whereas van der Linde scored 52, Rast has scored 48, and others have scored even more. So he needed to get back in the fight, and he really is back in the fight now. He's only going to be 7 points behind René Rast and 22 points behind the championship leader Sheldon van der Linde, potentially. Sheldon's brother Calvin, who of course was very much involved in the championship fight last year, and he's 8th on the road at the moment, but he's going to get a top 6 finish out of this. Got a couple of steady top 6 finishes here last year on a circuit which isn't quite suited to the car, although you haven't got René Rast running in 2nd place here, so he's pushing on, not that far. Is he behind Maro Engel? What was it, 0.4 of a second behind? So Calvin pushing on to try and maybe squeeze a 5th place out of this. But time's almost up, Dave. Clock is about to tick down to 0, and then it'll be 1 more lap at the end of it. So leaders have already crossed the line, so they'll finish this one. The clock will run out, and then 1 more at the end. 2 to go, including the one we're on, and Calvin is coming.
You're absolutely right. Kelvin is reeling in. Maro Engel right now. Through the Niki Lauda turn they go. Maro Engel then with a quick glance at the rearview mirrors know that Kelvin van der Linde is right up his trumpet now through this flat out turn 2, and then heading up to turn 3, which is anything but flat out, back down to 1st gear. And Kelvin taking a look at the inside. He showed his face, but he didn't move. He wasn't quite close enough to get to the inside of Maro Engel. He gets a very good exit out of that turn. And is he going to be able to put himself alongside Maro Engel going into turn 4? Again, I don't think he's quite close enough, because I think Maro got out of that turn really well.
Yeah, quicker of the two, isn't he? Neither of these two drivers really involved in the championship fight by showing his nose zone to turn 3. Maybe made Maro break a bit later than Maro would have liked, and that has put him on the back foot through turn 4. And the Audi is all over the back of him now. The driver that finished third in the championship last year looks up the inside on the way to turn 6, down towards turn 7 at Graz. They go now, third gear corner this. Hold on to the throttle. Slight climb uphill on the exit to here, over the crest, and they'll then go. Still nose to tail, still the Mercedes. The very experienced Maro Engel just ahead. He's one of 18 different race winners in this field. They've all at least one DTM race. The drivers in this field have won 80 races between them in the DTM. Hugely competitive field. As onto the last lap of the race goes Nick Cassidy, and the former Super GT champion, Japanese F3 star and GT star Nick Cassidy. Now, of course, these days, the last couple of seasons, Formula E racer Nick Cassidy, in his first, not quite, full season of DTM, is about to become a 2-time race winner, Dave.
So Nick Cassidy then has the remainder of this lap to do, and truthfully, he and the team's performance in this race, Chris, has been faultless.
Yeah, absolutely. Pit stop was pretty well nailed as well, wasn't it? Thomas Prining has got the hurry-up call. Get on with it. You've got a 10-second time penalty. He's all over the back of Lucas Auer. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. So Kelvin van der Linde found a way past and has got ahead of Maro Engel, which is going to be a 5th place once the 10-second time penalties are added on for Auer and Prining. Prining at the moment, in fact, they're both just going to be ahead of Van der Linde. Van der Linde, I fear, might not quite get this championship point, you know, because they've been pushing each other hard, Auer and Prining, and they might just sneak into the points, the pair of them. At the moment, if you had 10 seconds on, they're both just in front of Van der Linde, who's 11th on the road, Sheldon, the championship leader. But Nick Cassidy, an absolutely supreme drive here, hasn't put a foot wrong, and, well, he wasn't going to let the win go at Spa, and he hasn't really had to fight too hard for this one. He has driven superbly, and Nick Cassidy wins here the first race of the weekend at the Red Bull Ring, takes the checkered flag and wins by just under 3 seconds. Second place, though, to René Rast, puts him right back in the fight.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Hey, good job, buddy. You seem to be enjoying racing with 25 kilos in the car. Very good, very good. Pick up marbles, all the one, everything that you can. You guys have really, really been perfect. 2 in a row, and it's the best way. Thank you so much. Let's not forget.
Oh, he's a quality driver, isn't he, Nick Cassidy? You know, I would have personally racing when he was in the European F3 Championship with the Prema Power team, racing alongside the likes of Lance Stroll, who've gone on to race in Formula 1. He's at that level, isn't he? And we're very lucky to have him here. I said that last time at Spa, but he really is a terrific driver. He's such a quiet, relaxed, down-to-earth guy as well. When you speak to him out of the car, there was no big whooping or cheering as he went over the line. Just all sort of takes it in his stride, doesn't he? Another race win.
I have to say, it's jolly good fun to be at a party with as well. Well done to Nick Cassidy then. Of course, I remember, you know, in Fuji when we were there with DTM, of course, racing with Super GT. Yeah, Nick and I had many conversations, and here we are with Nick Cassidy in a DTM car, which is just great to see. And what a win, and so many spectators to enjoy. What has been a hugely entertaining race, Chris. I'm so honoured that you let me have the chance to be alongside you.
Well, once again, it's great to see that crowd, isn't it? Fantastic. They always give you good trophies here as well at the Red Bull Ring, don't they? I'm afraid, from Sheldon van der Linde's point of view, right about him not quite being close enough to get a point. So 11th place, 1.2 seconds off a point in the end. So Auer dropped down to 9th. Prining dropped down to 10th place, as you can see there. Cassidy, Rast and Bortolotti, our 3 drivers on the podium. But there, Sheldon van der Linde, almost like at Spa, really, almost from a very lowly grid position, gets in the points, but not quite.
I'll be controversial here and say that on our behalf, I'm glad Thomas Prining has got a point for the entertainment that he brought us. Sorry. Yeah,
bonus point for entertaining. I'm not quite sure Nico Muller will see it that way.
No,
but
I'm fired now, I'm sure.
And the Auto Hero fastest lap of the race point, the 3rd time this season, goes to Mirko Bortolotti. It was his teammate Rolf Inarsson that got it last time at Spa to get his first DTM championship point. So excellent effort by Mirko. But I say bittersweet, that podium. We'd be really pleased to be back in the big point scoring positions and back on the podium. Actually, for the first time since race 1 at Imola, the 5th round of the championship. It's been a while since he's been on the podium, having got 3 from the first 5 races of the championship. But it could have been more, couldn't it? It could have been potentially a second place finish anyway. However, he's back in the mix, and a good day all round for Mirko Bortolotti. And a podium in their first home race as a DTM team for Gottfried Grasser's team, GRT, based just outside the circuit. I've won here before with Mirko Bortolotti. I've won a couple of races in the past in other categories at this circuit, but that's, of course, their first in DTM on the podium at this track. But the winner, Nick Cassidy, for the AlphaTauri AF Corsa squad, comes in. René Rast is already there for Team Abt, and Mirko Bortolotti has already parked up. And here we go. The New Zealander gets up. We had a New Zealander winning both races in a Ferrari last year. Keeping up the tradition is Nick Cassidy. It's a New Zealander, it's a Ferrari, it's race victory in the Red Bull Ring once again for that combination. He'll have 25 kilograms of success ballast tomorrow, Dave, but it didn't really seem to hamper him that much today, did it?
No, I was absolutely amazed. Just reading an interesting fact here, which is extraordinary, and I don't discount the accuracy of it as well, because it's come from a very reliable source, which says that for the 488 GT3 car, which of course Nick Cassidy has propelled to the win here, it's the 500th victory of that car, Chris.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Luca.
Fantastic. So there, what you can see, actually pretty happy about life is Mirko Bortolotti. You always want more as a racing driver, don't you? But I think all in all, he'll take that 3rd place and gets himself back in the mix. Don't count him out of it. Back up to 3rd place in the championship for the Italian. There's Nick Cassidy. There, René Rast looking pretty happy with life as well. 18 points for René Rast, plus of course the 3 he got earlier on today, so he's picked up 21 out of a possible 26 points today. And Sheldon van der Linde hasn't picked up on Saturday a championship point, but last time that happened was at Spa, and then he got a podium, and then he walked away with a bigger championship lead than he had. So tomorrow's a different day. He's a positive person. He needs to stay positive. But what we do know now, really, is that this championship fight is absolutely going to go down to the wire, as we all hoped it would, going down into the final weekend of the season at Hockenheim, come what may, tomorrow. So Sheldon van der Linde stays on 130 points. René Rast closes now on 117 points to 13 points behind. Mirko Bortolotti's only 20 points behind, 3rd in the championship table. Lucas Auer on 100 points, having picked up 2 points for 9th place. He's still very much in the mix as well. There's Thomas Biermeier to the right of the picture for Abt. There's his star charge, René Rast, the 3-time champion. Not quite a 4th race win here at the Red Bull Ring, but 2nd place I think he will take, given that the only driver ahead of him is somebody not involved in the championship fight. So now we get the podium presentation and the trophy presentations. And I think I heard Sophia Florsch's name mentioned. She's been demonstrating the electric DTM car a couple of times this weekend with its new noise system. And Sophia, who competed in DTM last year, of course, presents the 3rd place trophy to Mirko Bortolotti. And René Rast gets a big cheer as he makes his way up onto the podium now. That is René's 50th podium in the DTM. 2nd place here in race 1 at the Red Bull Ring. The winning team, of course, is the Red Bull AlphaTauri AF Corsa team. We've got Daniel Abt. That's not right, is it? A YouTuber influencer presenting the trophy. We're going to get the team's trophy now, and it's going to be Andrea Guidotti, who's the technical director of the team, to get the award. I don't think we've seen Andrea on the podium so far this season, but he gets the award for Red Bull AlphaTauri AF Corsa team. And ex-F1 racer Carl Wendlinger presenting the trophy. But it's their man that will get the biggest cheer, because Nick Cassidy takes himself up onto the top step of the podium for the 2nd race in succession. He's a winner once more in the DTM, and he's only the 2nd driver this year to win more than 1 race, and it was thoroughly deserved. Lorenzo it is that's presenting the trophies for the winner today, Nick Cassidy. So another fine moment for the MotoGP multiple champion. They'll pose for photos, then there'll be a race for the champagne, but first of all, the New Zealand national anthem.
Congratulations.
Another hugely proud moment then for Nick Cassidy. Said he'd always dreamed of winning the DTM. He achieved that 2 weeks ago at the legendary Spa-Francorchamps. Now he's done it again here at the Red Bull Ring. So here they go, up onto the top step. Post for photos. Andrea's going to be called up as well for the photo. The calm before the storm, because the champagne is about to explode. Champagne will be picked up. Who's going to get this one right? Nick Cassidy, of course, is the winner. It's always the poor old team representative that gets absolutely drenched, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. And Nick was making a real beeline, and I tell you what, he's
gone down.
I think the trophy may have caught a bit of damage.
I think he's dinged the car and he's broke the trophy.
it will matter not.
It's all right. Nobody saw it, Andrea. Nobody saw that at all. It wasn't live on television.
He took a tumble there, didn't he?
Oh dear. That was his own fault for running, you see. He should have just taken it. Oh dear. So even on the podium there is drama today here at the Red Bull Ring. Mirko Bortolotti all smiles after picking up his 4th podium of the season. A landmark 50th career podium for René Rast and a 2nd race win for Nick Cassidy. Did I count him out of the championship fight? Maybe we shouldn't have Nick Cassidy if he keeps this sort of form up. If he wins one day with 25 kilograms of success ballast, there's no reason why he can't do it again. Liam Lawson did last year, a double race winner, so we'll see what he can do. Few drivers with tales of woe in that race though, but tomorrow will be another day, and usually, Dave, Sunday in DTM is quite different to Saturday on DTM.
You're absolutely right. I can see from our vantage point up high in the grandstand here, Antonello Coletta and Amato Ferrari walking very satisfied with their afternoon's performance. Here's Verena now.
And I'm here with Nick Cassidy, who's got to be psyched because he's got his 2nd win in a row. So congratulations to that. But that was your technical director. Do you think you upset him a bit? You soaked him.
Honestly, it's a really amazing day to win at Red Bull Ring with AlphaTauri and Red Bull. And I would say until the podium presentation, perfect. Oh, wow.
But how tough was the race for you? I mean, you had, I think, a 3-second lead. So you were just way ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I think the others were saving tyres, but tomorrow at the end there, they were backing off. So anyway, we had a fantastic car. It's a really tough race, just trying to nail every lap. I mean, with 25 kgs on board, it was not easy, but I was trying to do everything I could control, and that was make every corner perfect, and it was one of my best.
As you said, it wasn't easy with 25 more K, but however, you made it look so easy, Nick.
Definitely wasn't. No, definitely wasn't.
So I guess tomorrow it's going to be even more difficult for you to do well in the race, but you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I think tomorrow will be tough for sure. But hey, look, we've got 2 victories in a row. To have that in DTM is extremely rare, so it shows how good my team is, and I'm very proud of that.
All right, thank you, Nick. Thanks. And here's your commentator.
Thanks very much, Verena. Well done to Nick Cassidy. I broke the news to him earlier on when he was waiting for his interviews, TV interviews after qualifying. To Nick Cassidy, I said, you know, it might well rain tomorrow. That's the forecast. And his face dropped. He's like, oh no, really? And Nick's a good driver in the wet conditions, but it could be a very different day tomorrow. The forecast is that we've got about an 80% chance of rain, most of which looks like it's coming in the morning. So we'll wait to see. I mean, again, it's a volatile region in terms of weather, this, but it might not be a straightforward day tomorrow. So the weather might play its part on Sunday as well. But Nick Cassidy, a worthy winner here on day 1. Let's get some more reaction then from Verena down in the pit lane.
And I'm here with René Rast, coming from P4 to P2. We've got to be very excited and happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. There was a maximum today. 18 points, 2nd in the race. Everything went to plan. Good pit stop, good strategy. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch Nick. He was too quick today again. But nevertheless, 18 points are very important for the championship.
Absolutely. And speaking of the championship, you're 2nd in the championship and now also only 15 points behind Sheldon. And you've got 3 more races to go. So you're narrowing the gap.
Definitely, and hopefully tomorrow is another good day for us. Today was already a good day, and if it's raining tomorrow, we know that in Spa at least the BMW didn't perform as good as they were hoping for, so if it's raining tomorrow, we might have a good chance again.
And do you like the rain? I mean, are you good in the rain?
Normally, yes, but you never know, let's see. I mean, it really depends on, the car handling and, which cars suit the track or other way around, so let's see, we hope for the best.
All right, looking forward to that. Thank you, René. Back to the commentator.
Thanks, Verena. The calm demeanour there, Dave, of a man who's won 3 championship titles in DTM, also happens to have won 3 Porsche championship titles, doesn't he? So he knows how to do this. He's not faced by any of this, is he?
No, absolutely, you're right. And of course, he'll be quietly contemplating. Whilst he may not let on, of course, he will be thinking very much of what I need to do here. And René is a very, very good strategist as well. And he knows when to bank points and not go for gold, because sometimes it's not the race win that counts, it's the points that you're banking.
Yeah, nobody cares how many races you win, it's just whether you're champion or not at the end of the year. Audi extending their lead to 54 points, like at the top of the manufacturers' standings as well, with those points secured from René Rast in second place, and Kelvin van der Linde with a good drive through as well from his grid position to secure a 5th place finish for the team as we get some super slow-mos. But Dave, it's been great to have you in the commentary box. I think you enjoyed that, didn't you?
I did rather. It was yes, it was one of the highlights for me this weekend. That's for sure. Every single one of the drivers delivered plenty of action for us to talk about. Absolute pleasure for me to be alongside you. Well done.
Great, thanks very much indeed. Dave Richardson up here in the commentary box for race 1. Got all to come, of course, again tomorrow with qualifying 2. What will the conditions bring? That's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then we go with exactly the same race time tomorrow afternoon. 3 races still to go in the championship then. And after this race, we've now only got still available to us 87 points in the championship. So starting to whittle down the championship contenders, but Mirko Bortolotti absolutely one of them as you get the super slow-mo replays of him coming home in 3rd place and getting that bonus point for the fastest lap as well. So he scored 16 points from that race. René Rast 18 points, that was the maximum we could get today, and he knew that the only driver ahead of him was somebody not really involved at the sharp end of the championship fight, Nick Cassidy. Might have been a different story if Nick had been able to do all the rounds this year, of course, as well, which he's had to miss 2. He's had to miss 4 races, but we're seeing just exactly what he can do now in the AlphaTauri AF Corsa Ferrari. So I hope you enjoyed the coverage from Dave Richardson and me, Chris Hartley, in the commentary box. That's about it. Let's head back down to Verena to wrap up the show.
So I've got the man here who's on P3 and he started in P6, so you picked up there. Mirko Bortolotti. It was a tough race, I guess, but are you happy with the P3 considering you came from P6?
Yes, really, really happy, because from P6 to P3 on the track, that on paper doesn't really suit us. It's a great achievement, a great result, so I'm really happy with that. And yeah, that's not much to say. We needed a result like that to start the weekend with, so I'm really happy with the mission accomplished for today. Huge thanks to the team for an amazing job. Yesterday we worked really well, set up the car for the race, and obviously for quali as well. So I think we had a great day, and we can be happy for today, and tomorrow is a new day.
And also you're 3rd in the championship, but we're just talking out the points. So from here there are 3 more races also. There's anything, anything is possible really. And especially for the spectators, it's going to be so much excitement in the last 3 races. How about for you? I mean, obviously you're picking up the points.
Yeah, for sure we won't give up. I mean, we are here to do our job, and we are here to believe in what we're doing and believe in the chance. And as I always said, we are known for not giving up, and we will keep going like this and enjoy day by day. That's what we do. Main thing is we enjoy the DTM, and then the rest will come automatic. And as I always said, we will not even look at the table until the last round is finished.
All right, Mirko, thank you so much. Looking for tomorrow's race, that's for sure. Thank you, Mirko. And here's your commentator again.
Thanks, Freddie. Yeah, Mirko, of course, might not have had a season in DTM before, might not be a multiple DTM champion, but he has been a champion, so he's very much comfortable in this situation as well. So Schubert Motorsport still lead the team standings on 175, but the gap has closed. Ab Sportsline, 148 points now. And Red Bull AlphaTauri, of course, who climbed up the table at Spa, have gone up another place now, ahead of SSR Performance, who I'm afraid didn't score points today. So the Ferrari squad into 3rd place now in the championship. Remember they're the reigning teams champions from the 2021 season, and they're the rest of the teams in the top 12 in the team standings. So the teams championship and the manufacturers championship standings still to be decided and still coming to boiling point as we're going to the last 3 races of the season. Back then down to Verena Vries in the pit lane.
What a phenomenal race 1 here in Spielberg at the Red Bull Ring. We're certainly looking forward to tomorrow's race. It's going to be exciting, that I can promise you. So you do not want to miss it. Here are the highlights. Do enjoy them and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
You guys have really been perfect. 2 in a row, and in the best way.